Hey guys, this is Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm. How are you doing today? Also founder of Red Bear Brewing Company in glorious Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And today we are going to talk to Tannea Musselman. She is the director of craft beer sales for CraftWorks. CraftWorks is big, man. They got like 70 locations across the country. Closest one to me is Rock Bottom in Boston, Massachusetts, but there's a number of brand names, Gordon Biersch, and what they're doing is what I think should be done. I mean, they have brewery restaurants, and it's a great conversation. She's very knowledgeable, and so let's get to it. Hey, we're here with Tannea Musselman, who's the director of craft beer sales for CraftWorks. How are you, Tannea?
I'm awesome. How are you doing today?
That's a great answer. I'm awesome too. We're on
Sunny
the podcast.
San Diego.
I understand. Well, you're sunny San Diego. I'm in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It was sunny today. Starting to get hot. I don't know. What's the temperature over there?
Well, there's a saying here in San Diego that May gray, June gloom, and it is in full effect. So June gloom, but it is nice low 70s, so can't complain.
June gloom. Is it like cloudy or?
Yeah, it's basically, not to get all scientific or anything, but the marine layer doesn't burn off until like later in the afternoon.
Oh,
so.
okay, all right, I got it.
Good beer drinking weather.
And you're in the epicenter, man. So much good stuff going in San Diego. Like San Diego County, I did some other podcasts where we went over beer news. I think that San Diego County as a whole, like the Brewers, made more money like last year than the San Diego Padres.
Wow.
It's like out of control, like billions, like into the B. I think 1 billion is like crazy, but it's awesome beer, so it's good. But I just wanted to, but I appreciate you being on, and I connected with you, and I wanted to get an idea of, of your role, I guess, director of craft beer sales. You can go into that. Maybe a history of yourself, where you came from. I see you came from Great Divide, Stone Distributing. There's awesome places, and maybe CraftWorks in general. Maybe you can give us a synopsis on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, full disclosure, I've been in the role with CraftWorks for about 2 months now. It's been really a kind of an exploratory phase for us as a company. As I'm sure you can attest to this, and through conversations with other folks in the industry, that the beer business is pivoting quickly, and there was never a real focus until now on the beer side of things. Certainly there's an operations and keep the independent breweries at Rock Bottom and Gordon Biersch, as well as Big River, which are all under CraftWorks holdings, moving and that sort of thing. But there really isn't a focus on how we can continue to revitalize and reinvigorate our brand, because Old Chicago. So just to kind of bring it back here, we have quite a few brands under CraftWorks: Old Chicago, Logan's Roadhouse, Gordon Biersch, and Rock Bottom. And Gordon Biersch and Rock Bottom, as well as Chop House and Big River, are the 4 concepts that brew on site. And so, ever changing, most of those concepts started. Old Chicago got going. First place is in Boulder in 76, right? Gordon Biersch opened in California in 88, Rock Bottom in Denver, Colorado, 91, Big River in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 93. So, most of these got their start in, quite a while ago. So, we certainly know how to run restaurants. So I'm kind of being taken on to really look at how do we create the best in-class training program, right, about craft beer within our concepts? How do I partner with the marketing team to ensure, beer is being accurately represented, both internally with our team members and then our customers, and really just kind of looking at how do we get our name out there and tell these consumers that, hey, we're brewing beer on site, and it's fresh and it's delicious, and it's not going from our facility to a distributor and back. It's being brewed on site and served directly to our consumers. So really what I'm here to do is basically just taking all of my manufacturer side, my distributor side, and seeing how we can, continue to reach and cast a wider net, as well as kind of maintaining and going back to basics with our roots. So it's still being evolved as we go, and certainly there's more to come, but really it's a really cool Brewpub concept that, I worked at Stone for many years running the team here in San Diego and Inland Empire, which includes Palm Springs. I'm sure some of your listeners have been out there. It really, it's just kind of bringing everything full circle. And when I was in the distribution side of things, you don't think of Rock Bottom and Gordon Biersch as relevant these days. So, it's no pressure on my end, but how do you remain relevant in an ever-changing market? And that's hopefully what I can bring some of my experience and knowledge and expertise to the table and see what we can do with a team of people behind me.
Right, because you had experience of Great Divide as well, and then Stone Distributing. Now, does your entity CraftWorks distribute, or you just brew everything on site and you serve it on site?
So we do have a few licensee locations within some airports, specifically your Chop House concepts. There's one in Denver, one in the Dulles Airport out east. And so we are brewing some beer as well as distributing it internally. Some, obviously, 3-tier states require us to go through and work with a distributor. And really there has been nobody that has been able to manage those relationships and understand the whole distribution process of getting beer and logistics and freight and everything that goes into producing a barrel of beer from point A to point B. So certainly looking at that too internally, not necessarily going into a crowded off-premise or on-premise space outside of our umbrella.
So it's basically you're distributing to your own restaurants, I guess, within these airports, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not outside. Yeah, but it's crazy if the state has to get involved with that. It's like your company,
I know.
It's like, what the heck?
It's a mess.
Some of these states are just out of control. It's going to change, but it's just, it's very painful.
Everybody wants their cut, and
oh, well, yeah, of course, because you got to tax it now, right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Working on the distributor side, that those margins, they used to be low 20s, mid 20s, and now everybody's creeping up 30%, even plus, and running blended margins depending on numbers of SKUs and volume and velocity and everything else. So yeah, it's something that we haven't had eyes in internally, that we, just seeking opportunities to ultimately drive more revenue to the bottom line is my
You really need
job.
that, yeah. So that's good that you're focusing it, because things can get awry quickly when there's too many people involved, and then the margins, like you said, deteriorate. And it's like, what are you in business for? You're trying to make, or why are you doing that,
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of systems do you have at your, do you have a typical size system at each location?
Yeah, so the rock bottoms range anywhere from, 7 is the smallest, up to our newest location, which is located in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, which is kind of the suburbs of Denver. That's about a 12-barrel system. Most of them are 10 to 12. Some of the Gordon Biersch locations have some larger kettles and mash tuns because we're doing a lot bigger batches in lagering. However, it pretty standard across the board is about a 10 to 12-barrel brew house.
That's a nice size, yes, for a brewery, for a brew pub. I guess you're a brew. What do you call yourselves? A brewery restaurant? It's not really a brew pub, or how does that? What's the difference there? Or is there any difference? It's just a name.
I mean, I don't see a difference in it. I just say, it's a brew pub, brewery restaurants. Some of the restaurant side of people have different terms than the beer side of people. So for me, I just, I kind of associate us as a brew pub.
But you have like 70 locations, so it's a lot of locations. I was looking at a map too on your website. Like you're all over the place.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Just kind of some 30,000-foot view of what CraftWorks is and kind of where we came from. We're the nation's leading operator of franchisor of breweries and craft-focused like casual dining. Right. In total, combined, we operate over 390 restaurants and entertainment venues as well as brewery restaurants in 40 states across the U.S. We employ over 10,000 team members, and we're the largest operator of brewery restaurants with more than 70 locations. It's pretty remarkable to see, 1999 rock bottom really, it was a privately held company, as well as Gordon Biersch was also acquired by Big River Brewing at that same year. We fast forward to 2010, Rock Bottom and Gordon Biersch Brewery were acquired by Centerbridge Capital Partners. So, we have this conversation, I feel like, a lot in the beer business, and I don't feel like it's going to go away anytime soon, is that consolidations, acquisitions, and mergers are going to continue. Whether that is on the restaurant side, the brewery side, the distributor side, it will continue, right?
Yeah.
So you see that happening with us a bit. And then back in November, CraftWorks announced they acquired Logan. So we rolled Logan's Roadhouse, which is primarily Southeast. I wasn't too familiar with the brand. Mm-hmm. And now that's overseen by one CEO. So we're all under the same umbrella. So a lot of changing of hands, right? But through all of that, what's remarkable to see through my travels is that in visiting all of these locations is that, Michael, we have a tenured group of brewers. Most of these guys have been around 10, 12, 20 years. And, through all the change and all of that goes into exchanging and transitioning to new ownership, it's really cool to see that kind of consistency, that level of dedication and that passion that still is there from those guys.
Well, you can see it also in the hundreds of medals you've won. I look at it on the medal site on the page. I'm like, my God, you won so many medals on the World Beer Cup and then the GABF.
Yeah.
That's a testament to the quality of the beer. And you say you have some veteran brewers. They know what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Of course. But there's one near me. Actually, the one near me is, I just saw it, Rock Bottom in Boston.
Okay.
So yeah. I gotta check that out. I didn't know, because this is, I know the Gordon Biersch brand. I didn't realize everything was consolidated under one umbrella like CraftWorks. Because mm-hmm. I've been in the Northeast. That's the closest one to me. And I'm from New York originally, and and you don't have anything in New York. I think you have something in Pennsylvania. That's the closest. You have it upstate New York, yeah.
In DC, we have a Rock Bottom, and forgive me, I'm still trying to make sense of it. I just was out in DC, Annapolis. So we have Rock Bottom, Gordon Biersch in Annapolis, Gordon Biersch in Baltimore. There's a Rock Bottom in Bethesda, I believe. You East Coast folks are probably cursing my name right now with not pronouncing some of these cities. But yeah, we are strong in some of these pockets up here with both Gordon Biersch and Rock Bottom concepts, but primarily it's a Gordon Biersch up in your kind of neck of the woods.
Right. And in the Denver area, I'm looking at this map, you have loads of them. You have about 30 of them, and it's just around that area in that state. But you're sprinkled across the country, but 70 locations is very strong, And how do you find it overall? I think, do you have good margins in the tap? I say that's the best thing. People come in and you don't have to worry about a can. You don't have to worry about a label. You don't have to transport it anywhere. You have a glass. They pull the handle. You fill the glass, they drink it, you wash the glass, that's it, And the margins are the best in the tap room. I mean, is that what you're seeing? And paired with food, I mean, you have some magic. So, I mean, what are you seeing in your restaurants?
Yeah, that's a few different perspectives, right? We have the traditional glass liter size in Gordon beer, so we're not necessarily changing anything there. But most recently, and I think next week it goes live at all Rock Bottom locations, is that we're transitioning from a 20 ounce to a 16 ounce. We're seeing that, the beer, there's a few benefits, just to name a few, right? The beer's staying colder. It's being consumed maybe quicker because the quality and the temperature remains better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're seeing that consumer drink that second pint, right? And we've found that we are a little bit undervalued and under, what was competitive as doing a competitive analysis of, like concepts or other local tap rooms or other breweries, that we were priced under what we should have been. And for me coming in being on the beer side and just being in the beer my entire professional career, is that devalues our brand. And that's the last thing we want to do, is say, hey, come in, we're going to give you a pint for $3. And it's fresh. We brewed it right here, but we're going to almost give you this beer for free.
That's
certainly
cheap.
the margins.
Is that a real
fantastic.
price? Is that a real
it
price?
It was. Yeah, it
really?
was at happy hour. And so
happy
for
hour.
me, and even some of these locations, right? Area geographically specific. Some of the burbs are a little bit more sensitive than some of these larger cities that are used to paying more, right? But yeah, we certainly took price up, tiered them, to just kind of simplify our pricing structure, changed our glassware a bit, and we are seeing the return, and our product mix, beer, wine, liquor, food, and the beer, swing a few percentage points in the right direction. So certainly margins are fantastic, because you're not dealing with, bottling bottles, too much labor. We do have a brewer on staff at all of our brewery locations, but you don't get into your full production lines, cost of turning on a bottling line, labor, everything else. It is being brewed, it is set to the cellar, and from the fermentation it goes to the bright tank, the serving kettles, tanks, whatever you'd like to call them, and then directly to the tap.
Yeah. So that makes total sense. Like in terms of the 20 ounce, like you think you're giving them an added value, but then the thing gets warm, and they're like, all right, I'm just going to have one. But if you do a 16 ounce, they'll have two, and it'll be cold, and it'll be fresh, and that's great. And you do need a brewer at each location, because you got to make sure, things move along appropriately, and I mean, it's kind of their passion. They make it, they want to make sure it gets to the, from grain to glass, and in a proper fashion. So I think, you need a brewer at each location. And do you do any growlers or anything, or do you sell anything in the tap room?
Yeah, most Rock Bottom and Gordon Biersch do growlers. State laws also just obviously considered at each location. However, we certainly sell growlers, old school glass growlers. And, we're certainly seeing somewhat of a decline in there. I don't think that is a focus. I'm not going to, I think there's a saying that you don't want to be the last person kind of turning off the lights, but don't mess around with it if there's still revenue coming from it. So it's certainly not a focus, but we do growlers, and every, some locations have growler Wednesdays where you can come in and get a discount. But really it kind of differs by region and by location.
So that's great. And you have, but you're kind of have localized. Well, you have your Brewpub, which is a great place for people to go to. a brewery restaurant, sorry, that people can go to locally and then have beer that's brewed on site, which is very appealing. And that's where we see the trend moving towards like a local brewery. It's fresh. Is that what you're seeing as well? I guess because all your locations.
Yeah, and I think really it's about education and getting the message out there, and also educating our staff. I'm huge on knowledge is power, and the more that we know, and the more that I go out to eat, and I'm a millennial. I'm the generation that is dominating population-wise in the U.S. right now, and we're really seeing a shift of this generation shifting to liquor and spirits and hard cider, seltzers, and all of that, right? So how do you continue to capture them and engage with those folks? And I think that message of, hey, it's fresh, it's brewed here, it's local, like come out for the experience. Our team members are educated and well versed, and so really putting a focus back on how do we create that like perfectly crafted experience every time to then everybody's got a phone and everybody will so quick to tell 10 people of a bad experience. We want folks to come and have a good experience and tell their folks and come and have a perfectly crafted beer every time that's brewed locally with locally sourced ingredients, a nice kettle sour that the berries were picked up by the farmer's market, by the brewer, like that's the story we want to try to tap into and connect with.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, adding the local ingredients in the beer. But I understand what you're saying about the millennials. They're eating very well. Like, I don't know, this is what I see. Like, they're eating better. They don't eat like cheeseburgers. They'll eat like, there's a lot of restaurants that are popping up, especially like in the Boston area where they serve fresh food, like fresh potatoes or like vegetables, right? And meat. Yeah. And like local stuff. And they appreciate that and they buy that. And it's like it's booming, I think, because people want to eat good stuff. They don't want to eat crap. And if you translate that to the beer and then you also put local ingredients in that, I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah. And furthermore to that, besides the beer too, all of the restaurants are dropping new menus. We're revitalizing our menus. We're going back, not to say we got away from it, but there's a lot of, with regime changes throughout the years, everybody had a different focus of cost saving initiatives and what have you, right? So moving back to curating fresh fish and the best possible meats and frying the fries fresh and not letting them sit there, and not saying that that's what happened, but it's really just putting a focus of this is fresh ingredients, new menus, seasonally inspired that pairs well with our beer.
Yeah. I mean, that's all sounds great, and you have 70 locations and craft beer. And then what do you guys talk to? Well, you have all your brewers there. I mean, are they facing any challenges that they see, or I mean, I guess you supply everything to them, but is there anything that they're saying that they wish they could have, or I don't know, or challenges like the craft beer business overall, like what you see?
Yeah, I think there's certainly opportunities that lies in all these businesses. I see, really just getting people and folks in the door, right, to get that second pint, and really, obviously, that second pint and changing glassware and being right priced and the consistency and quality, that all contributes to getting folks and more people in so we can keep our brewers busy to continue to brew more beer. What's I think is kind of cool is, and pretty rare from a brewer standpoint, is that, they have a lot of autonomy to do as they please. Mm-hmm. They have to hit certain, kind of style guidelines to ensure, there is a light and refreshing and fruit and spice and hoppy and malty, right? Roasty and dark and sour. And so as long as that they have they're hitting specific styles. They also have a lot of room to just what's working locally, what's working regionally. And what I think is cool is that the autonomy is there and the freedom is there stylistically, but we have a buying power of a large, entity, right? You don't have
That's
to
right.
worry about your bottom line as much as a smaller brewery would. You have contracts, hop contracts. You have some locations have silos of, base malts, and some use, large yeast contracts and everything else. So we have a buying power of a large entity, yet you also have the freedom and the flexibility to really be your own brew house. So, in smaller situations where I've seen, because I've worked with them at Stone, I've managed their business, for years, is that the industry was growing so rapidly, 10, 20, 30% clip. Everybody was happy. We were all brewing beer. We were investing in stainless steel. We were investing in equipment, and then nobody really looked at the P&L. So I think that these guys having the opportunity to be flexible and be creative, but yet also have the infrastructure of a large buying, machine behind you is rare.
Oh, absolutely, man. You need cash, and you need like a parent. And especially with the buying power, you can go to whatever grain, malters and say, look, I don't have one pub, I don't have two, I have 70. So give me a good deal.
Yeah.
Same thing with hops and yeast and everything, shirts, whatever.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic, and that adds to your bottom line as well. And you also have to remember it's a business. It's not like it is cool, but some brewers get trapped in the coolness, and they'll buy a van, say, hey man, I just bought a van. I'm like, all right, what are you going to do with this van? Are you just going to park it outside? Well, now you got to pay like $1,000 a month for this van that you're parked outside. Like, what is it going to do for you? Yeah, who's going to drive it? We got to insure it.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with this thing? You're just going to why don't you just buy a sign and put it outside? That'd be cheaper instead of buying a van. But stuff like that. So, but it makes sense, and it's. I think you're really on a good trajectory there, and you got your stuff in line, and it sounds really good. The whole thing. I must get down to the rock bottom. I got to make it a point. I got to put it on the list. But it's here in Boston, so I can go. It's not like, I got to get to Washington State, go check out the hop farm. It's like in Washington. But this I can do. It's close to me.
You should go check it out and let me know.
I must check it out, and I have to, I will let you know. And if you want to add another, division, I have a brewery. Company. You and me should talk after this. I have awesome ideas, and you guys have the backing. So,
I love ideas. I think that there is no bad idea, and for me, managing. There are bad ideas, but
no. I mean, I created a brand from nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have recipes. Actually, I'm trying to sell this location here because I need to go to that next level. And maybe you guys are the next level. I always like to ask people. The worst they can say is no, which is where I am right now. So it doesn't matter, right? That's what you got to do. And I think you're on the same wavelength. So, but we'll talk after the podcast. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you being on. Our podcast, Craft Beer Storm, and I connected with you, and you were very gracious to come on and describe your company. If they wanted to find more information about your beer brewery restaurants, where would people go?
Yeah, CraftWorksRestaurants.com is a great spot. We're working at revitalizing our social media and Instagram and that sort of things. So I think that is really a good place to start. Or, brand specifically, Rock Bottom, .com, Gordon Biersch, Old Chicago, I can be a resource too. You can find me on LinkedIn and that sort of thing. So whichever avenue is easiest for folks to find us, or they can just reach out personally. That's cool with me. So I'm just excited. I come from the culinary background. I went to Johnson and Wales, and so I've been on the manufacturer side, I've been on the distributor side, and kind of bringing it full circle and coming, marrying the two a bit with food and beer. And I think that this is a really special concept that really people should, drop by for lunch and have a beer and a well-crafted burger if that's your thing.
Yeah.
And just check it out. So.
I'm with you. I've thought this idea since I started this brewery. I mean, I wanted to start a brand, and I'm like, the magic is you get people in, they drink your beer, and you give them some food, and you make gold, and that's what you guys are doing. I mean, but you got to track it and do it, in a business type manner. You can't just throw money at stuff, and you have to look at your costs. And I think what you're doing is great, man.
That summer menu at Rock Bottom right now is killer. They got like ribs and French dip sandwich.
Oh man.
We're selling like 15 of those in just an hour lunch rush that I was there. And so, we talk about back to basics when you just thinly slice the meat to order and you pair a nice lager or a nice, American style IPA with that, whatever your flavor is, people just eat it up. It's amazing to me.
Literally eat it up. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's
So.
I'm telling you, that's the kind of thing that I projected, and we'll talk after this podcast. We'll talk after. All right, cool. Hey, well, listen, I appreciate you coming on. I wish you the best
Absolutely.
of luck. I would like to meet you at some point and have a beer with you. I think you have a lot of knowledge that probably could translate to me. I want to go like on a tour of the country. I mean, we'll stop by one of your pubs and we'll do a live thing.
Absolutely.
These are ideas that I have. They're going to happen. They're going to happen. Okay. So
well, keep me in mind, and thank you for your time and allowing me to talk about CraftWorks.
This is your first podcast, you said, right?
It is.
How about
I've done
that?
Plenty of
We've got an
interviews
exclusive.
and have talked in front of plenty distributor rooms. However, first podcast. So
Cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome, Tannea. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that was Tannea Musselman. She's the director of craft beer sales for CraftWorks. 70 locations, and they got breweries on each site. Nice 12-barrel brewery, perfect. They got a brewer at each site, which is what you need. The guy who has the passion, grain to glass, want to make sure everything's good. And hey, they won loads of medals between GABF and the World Beer Cup. Lots of medals, so that the beer that they're making is really good, and the brewers put a lot of effort into it, and they know what they're doing. So if you go to one of their locations, you're going to have a great experience, great beer, and great food. And Tannea is trying to figure it out. It's a new position that CraftWorks had put together, and I think she has a lot of knowledge, man. She's gonna kill it. Kill it in craft beer in CraftWorks. And we're going to have a new division, a Beara Brewing Company division. So just take a look out for that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But hey, you never know. I sent her the PowerPoint. I sent her the business plan. If that doesn't work, it's okay, because then I'll be at the same place I am now, which I don't have anything. But you gotta go for it. You gotta try. Okay, anyway, if you like what we're doing, you like our podcast, please, please, please go on to iTunes. Give us a rating, give us a review. Tell a friend, tell 10 friends, because we want to be your beer podcast. We want to give you the information. Mondays, we give you craft brewers or founders of craft beer. We do 360. All kinds of people in the craft beer industry. We just had Tannea on, and she's, hey, director of craft beer sales helping out a company that was put together with a load of locations and managing that. That's fantastic. And then on Wednesday we do beer style. So we go down the Great American Beer Festival list. We do a different beer style every Wednesday. We, what grains are used, hops, bitter, malty, what glass to use it in, examples of the style. There's a lot more styles than just lagers and IPAs, guys. A lot more. It's like 103, and then there's subcategories, so it's good stuff. And then Fridays we do craft brew news. We go over the drama that is craft beer. A lot of the stories make you like, oh my God, it's like a soap opera. But it's good stuff, keeps the blood going. And if you like what we're doing, please go on iTunes, give us a rating and review. It takes 2 seconds, 5 stars. It's awesome. Or give us whatever you think. But whatever you can do to promote us, those ratings and reviews go a long, long, long way. It gets us up in the rankings and more people know about us. And then we can get the good stuff about craft beer out there. And that's what we want to do. And that's our mission. Okay, I appreciate you listening today. Have a great rest of the day, and we will see you on Wednesday. Take care.